Okay, now you can see that we've got these contours all nice and smoothed off. We want to make them a little more subtle, and we'll do that by sanding them with one of those, just by using this little green sanding comb. So it's real fine, and it will clean it up just right for us. So we'll take this off, put that on, and we'll just go back repeating this process. You know, start wherever you like. I'm just going to start down here in the vent area and just kind of clean it out a little bit. Get some of these brush marks off here, and tool marks. Now when I get to it, you can see where I'm just going to roll that up on there. And make this real subtle. Now one other thing that I do after this is I take a little bit of 400 grit sandpaper, and this is that sanding mesh that I showed you earlier. I'll take 400 grit, and I just take a piece like this and fold it up. Rather than try to go like this, I just simply go all over the whole bird, just in a circular motion, like this. Now what that does is it softens off any of the hard edges that I might have missed. By going in a circular motion, it ensures that you get all along the top and the edges of these valleys that you created. Now I can see one spot right here that's a little deep that I need to clean up just a little bit. I missed. As you're doing this, just look for areas that are still too harsh. See one right there. Okay. Go back to this 400 grit and do that. Circular motion all the way around. Now you can see how subtle all that is. It's not hard. It gives you an area where all of these parts of the different feathers are going to lay in. And your flow, as I told you, a feather flow, in each one of these areas, this is a group, this is a group, this is a group. Your feather flow runs in a line like this. Feather flow is like that. Feather flow on here is this way. Feather flow is this way. I go in and draw these little flow lines so I'll know which way my feathers are going to go. And on this particular one here, they just kind of go like this. Like that. Now, I also draw flow lines for the back. This is the cape area. And you'll notice that we've separated the cape area right here with one of those grooves. Notice this groove is shorter because the head's turned, so it's crunching everything in this direction. So the flow lines on your cape will start like this. And you'll notice they'll come around to the middle. I'll start back over here and they start the same way. Those are your flow lines for your cape. So now it becomes the process of, in all of these areas where I've drawn these little flow lines in, so now we start drawing feathers in. So on this breast area, I'll start in this particular area. This is part of the cape, so we'll leave that alone for right now. All of these feathers in here are rounded. They're not pointed like that. And I go from the middle of the groove to the middle of the groove on the other side. You don't want to make these feathers look like fish scales. You gotta stagger them. So if you start looking like fish scales, you need to erase them. Start all over again. Get rid of that fish scale look. Now I'll do another one, probably a little bit bigger that fills in right around that one like that. And I can come over here and start another one like that. Come up off this other one like that. It's just you want to get rid of that fish scale look. Just draw these in. Notice they're staggered, they're not following a fish scale line. You get into a wider area, you can put more, there's going to be more feathers in it. And you can make some of them a little bit larger as you go down the breast. Like that. Just put one in the middle, like this right there, because it's wider. I can come over here, one like that, one like so there, another one like that. Just stagger them out. As you start getting closer to the end, they're going to start getting a little bit different. Have one left over, it's going to go under there like that. You're not going to see it, so you're going to texture all that. So now you see how this feather pattern lays out. You do the same thing following your flow structure. Do it for the whole breast area. So we'll get all these drawn in, and then I'll show you how we draw in the vent feathers. And then after we get that done, we'll do the cape. We'll work on the head, and then after that we'll be texturing. Okay, we've got all of the feather group areas all drawn in, as you can see. Yours may or may not look like this, but you know, it's like I said, keep them staggered, don't make them look like fish scales. So every one of the groups have got all that done. What we're going to do now is concentrate on the back side, which is the cape area, and where we handle it with the flow lines are kind of raised up, but we can see them just a little bit. We'll try to follow those flow lines. The cape feathers are the same type of feathers that you find on the belly. We'll go ahead and put those in. I like to start right around where the ear coverts are, and I'll just start putting one in, like so. It's just a matter of putting them on there. Now you're going to find as you get closer around some of these areas here, you'll have to kind of work around these corners, but you keep them pretty consistent, and you can make them, they're smaller up towards here, and they'll get a little larger, like we've got a little larger back here. You don't want to make them excessively larger, but they can be larger. See how I have a little group right here? I'll put one right across the top of that, and I can put one like that. I'm just trying to get rid of all this fish scale. I don't want fish scale looking. And this is all going to be textured and not burned. So, and the only place that what we will probably do is on these backside, on this breast, we may go ahead and we can relieve some of these with a small ball. We'll see how these turn out. We may have enough of a feather grouping, we don't have to do that, but we'll try it with once we start texturing it. We'll go ahead and lay out the rest of these feathers on the cape, just working your way around the sides, following the flow lines. You see the flow line here. I just draw one in and follow the flow line. I can put one in the fish scale. Looks like if you just keep doing them in the same thing and they keep looking the same going down, you don't want to keep that broke up. So avoid that fish scale look, because it looks just like fish scales when you texture them, so it shows up real bad. So just create little different angles before you put stuff in, like so. So continue this all the way around, and we'll put all these in, and when we get all these put in, then we'll work on these feathers here on the lower coverts and the upper coverts, and we'll get all that, work on the head later. Alright, we've got all the feathers laid out on the cape, as we talked about, all the way around, avoiding the fish scale look, and keeping things broke up. What we're going to concentrate on now is the lower tail coverts and upper tail covert feathers. Remember earlier I said they were spear pointed shape, kind of elongated feathers. They're soft and fluffy. So we'll start drawing some of those in. We'll start it right about in the middle here. Draw them in like so. And they're the same way. You don't want to make fish scales out of them. Just keep putting those in. When you get to the where they start converging around and messing up between the upper and lower area, when you bring them to the lower area, you just bring them like so, like that. You don't have to draw it off that edge. You will just bring them back like that. You'll do the same thing over here. Kind of just draw it in, and we'll do this all the way around until we get the top side and the bottom side completed. Alright, we've got all of the feathers for the lower tail coverts and upper tail coverts put in. You'll notice that they are elongated, kind of spear-shaped feathers, and we will relieve these a little bit to show some definition to them, top and bottom. And then when we're done with that, we'll come back in and we'll draw the flow lines in for the head and for the coverts, the ear coverts. And then what we'll do after that is then we'll start stoning these out and texturing them to start showing the texture of the bird itself and all the feathers. Okay, now that we've got all the back side of these feathers laid out, we're going to draw in contour or flow lines for the coverts, ear coverts, and for the head. We're not going to draw individual feathers on these because it's just a matter of detailing them with a stone, and I'll show you how we do that later. The only place I'm going to really put anything is I'm going to draw flow lines off of this bib, which you can see right here, and they widen out as they go. Like that. Now the flow lines for the head, just pretend like there's a line right across here like this on the eyes. Flow lines that for the head, they come off like this. They run straight back, and as they get above the eye, they make like a lazy S. They come up and run to the back of the head like so, and they'll converge almost like what we call a DA haircut. In the old days, people remember the DA haircuts. So they run over, flow lines run over like this on the same way. I draw these in so I know which way that I'm going with my flow of the feathers to the head. As you see, that's what the flow lines would look like there. Now, for on these ear coverts right here, they go a little bit differently. They tend to make exaggerated turns around ear coverts. And as they get around here, they tend to go like so, and flow up over the sides. And we draw flow lines on the same way on the other side. And again, as they come up here, they tend to flow off like that. So now we have the flow lines put in for the head and for the rest of the body, for the rest of the feathers. All the feathers patterns are drawn in. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a small ball and we're going to relieve some of these feathers just to give them some definition, clean them up, and then we're going to start texturing all these feathers. All of these feathers here get stoned except for the wing feathers and the tail feathers, which will be burned with burning pin.